Hi, beloveds. We are talking about our workshop coming up, and just giving you some thoughts to do your own work, as well as if you come to the workshop to better prepare you. Like, what is it that we're actually going to do there? So, this workshop about body stories and Donald J. Trump. See, it's even hard to say the word for me. Um, this is all about what's encoded in our bodies that's waiting to set us free. So we have an accumulation of stories held in our bodies from the time we were born to the present time, and most of those that are deeply encoded in our bodies, that we call stories, are things that we've kind of made agreements with ourselves about. So, a simple one, I just worked with someone yesterday, and the simple story was something like, I'll never be like, and it was one of his parents. So I'll never be like my father. So that story, though, is his agreement with himself, and what that story did was it started blocking him from some of his bigger desires and dreams, because every time he got close to something that felt like anything that looked like or smelled like or tasted like his father, he would stop. And in this time in which we're living, and in this current administration, it's mirroring back to us. So it's mirroring back to us some of our stories, and some of the stories that are both our wounds, but the other part of the story that's getting mirrored back, and as you can see, I'm sitting across from a mirror. The other story that's getting mirrored back is simply about who we are in our wholeness already. So, as someone who was a sexual abuse survivor and thriver, and have healed so much of that in my life, when I hear some of the things in policies and words that Donald J. Trump uses, they bring up that wholeness from the wound of my abuse. So it's not so much even that the abuse is coming up, as much as, oh, I am not about to allow the world to develop in a way where people are so readily abused. So just tag that for a moment. We were watching a show last night, and they brought up, there are a bunch of therapists who did a book early on, when Trump first got into office, called Dangerous Case of Donald Trump. And all these therapists were looking at his authoritative manner, his authoritative style and personality, and most of our abuse that is still, whether it's just kind of a little shadow, whether it's just something peripheral, because most of the people who are going to come and do work with us have done a lot of work on themselves, so they know the stories, they probably worked on them, but those echoes of a story are oftentimes just about abuse of power, where someone or some circumstance has taken power over you and taken power from you. Our belly is the place of our personal power energetically. So that personal power has been diminished. So how can, in this time, we actually step up and step out into more of our personal power and really feel that in our lives, so that we can be doing the things that we feel called called to do, that we feel are in our purpose, the things that really bring meaning to us. So as you think about this juicy workshop, just think about, how has your personal power felt diminished in this 2 years of Donald Trump? And I'll leave you with the last story. And that is, Donnie and I worked with someone, a woman, some time ago, and she was triggered by a news story that came out. And the news story just, again, brought up the fact that she, as a kid, did not feel powerful. And yet, indeed, she was incredibly powerful. And in fact, people were frightened of her because she was incredibly powerful, but she didn't feel incredibly powerful. She felt like a little kid who was being, bullied. And so what seeing that news did was brought an awareness to her body, and even some disease, some illnesses that she had some vulnerability to in her body, that she began to work on. And as she worked on that, she came up with just, oh yeah, I've done a lot of work on this, but I realize, even though asking for help is something I'm better at, I'm not, when I think about this person who had power over me, I still feel small. So I'm just kind of giving you a little bit of food or grist for the mill as we think about Donald J. Trump and the power that is kind of being reflected back to us, so that both our gifts and our wounds can come up in these times for more healing, and for us to be more called into our purpose. So, last image, I just bought these fun little balloons, but you've seen them in protests in London and across the world, where there's the baby Donald Trump, and I'm going to actually use this one and write on it the things that have broken my heart, because the things that have broken my heart are about the places where my personal power has been diminished, and it feels like there is power over me. So those are kind of the residuals. So just a visual aid to just kind of play with, because we want to have fun in this workshop. Well, it will have some intensity of what is coming up, both our gifts and our wounds. So juicy time, and take care of yourselves and be beautiful in this world we live. Namaste.